What's going on, guys? I'm MarsBuilt, and welcome back to another episode here on the Project Bedrock server. In the last episode, we ended up removing the concrete farm that was previously on this island, and then we replaced it with my mud farm design here. Now, this mud farm can not only produce a ton of mud, but it has also been modified to produce a ton of clay as well, and you can even use this to produce a ton of concrete as well, since we modified it to do the concrete also. Once everything is converted into its final material, then it will be pushed into this giant cuber, which is going to make a pretty large cube of it. That way we can manually mine all of this and get a ton of resources. Now, I would like to do something with withers or TNT or something. However, the drop rate on Minecraft Bedrock Edition is not that of Java, and it usually blows up just as much items as it drops on the ground, so you end up losing quite a bit of stuff. I could use a wither cage. I don't believe that the drop rate is as high with those, but I could be wrong. But for how little we're going to be using this farm, I think I'll just stick to manually mining it for now. And then if the demand picks up for it, then we will see about adding in some kind of harvesting system. Now, the reason why I wanted to build this on the server and kind of beta test it before I release this onto the tutorial is because I want to get all of the bugs out of it and really fine tune it. This I've been really playing around with on the timings, and it seems like it takes 15 minutes for all of the clay to turn from mud into clay. And that is kind of a long time. So what I've done to kind of cut that time in half is have two different drying racks. From the original drying rack, I just had this below. But if I just have this below, that means that the entire 15 minutes has to be on this single drying rack. Well, since this thing will push out 10 blocks at a time and it does not consistently push blocks out, that means that all of the time that the blocks are sitting on this drying rack here, that means that the rest of these blocks are not moving also. So we can basically have a bunch of mud on this drying rack, and then we can push it onto an additional drying rack to basically split the load into two. So instead of having to wait the full 15 minutes, we can wait only 7.5 minutes, which will push us 2 times, once on this drying rack and once on this drying rack, cutting the time in half that we have to wait for this mud to turn into clay. However, the thing is we can even lower this furthermore by adding in more drying racks, and that's exactly what I want to do. However, I need to figure out which way I want all of these guys to be routed around this area. We will definitely get into more of that here shortly, but for now, I heard that Gigi has something that she wants to show me, and I have yet to see what it is, and I have a feeling what it is. I got a pretty good idea it's that build that we were talking about, which is pretty exciting if you ask me. So let's go over there and we will see if we can't figure out what she wants to show me and hopefully get a look at this thing for the first time together. Let's go. Alright, here we are back over in my home base area, and like I said, I've been kind of avoiding this area because I wanted to be surprised just as you guys are as well. So Gigi is supposed to be over here. Let me see if I can't find her. Gigi, are you over here? Gigi? Gigi?
Yeah.
Are you over here?
I am.
Oh, where are you?
I'm in front of your new barn.
Oh, you just rendered in. I wasn't showing you until I walked closer. What do we have here? This thing is amazing.
I hope you like it.
Hold on, I gotta eat. It seems like I'm always eating anymore.
Yeah.
You got a new skin too.
Yeah.
This is quite the skin.
My carpenter's outfit was dirty, so I hurried and changed into this.
Oh, no worries. So, do I get the grand tour? This thing is massive.
You sure do. I hope you like it.
I do. And I got the jump boost. Typical GG jump boost building. I'm not a fan of the jump boost. I just put it on over there in my clay farm, and it's like I was trying to pillar up and like break a bunch of cobblestone in order to, or break a bunch of stone in order to get cobblestone, and whenever I do that, it's like you can't place it very quickly. I don't know, maybe if I got used to it. But
you get used to it. You place 2 at once instead of just 1 when you jump up, so
2 at once. I didn't know that you could jump that high. I'll have to try it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just operator error. So, wonder if I could jump on the roof. Nope, not quite.
Nope. If you get a
This is quite the design. I like it.
I'm glad you do. I was kind of worried.
You're kind of worried?
Yeah.
Well, you have nothing to worry about. You are a phenomenal builder.
Oh,
what do we have going on around here?
It's a hay lift.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's really
hay
called.
lift.
But, you know, they always have to lift hay into the top of the barn somehow.
Did we have casualties?
Yes, she died of exhaustion.
Where did you go? I
Hey,
have to Did we have casualties? I see casualties.
Hay is exhausting.
I see that.
She was moving
Yes,
hay
from
and fell down. If
yeah,
you
from
would
somebody
like.
who's loaded and unloaded hay, I totally understand. It is really exhausting. This is amazing. I'm gonna have so much room for activities inside of here.
I set this up
A-
so we could go up and look around at
And
the
we
top
got
if you'd like.
the new spectator mode.
That
There
seems
we go.
awesome.
And then we can whoa. This is hmm. I wonder if I can put maybe a second floor in here just for like
You
to have something to walk around.
almost can. And I put these stairs upside down here so you can make it actually look like it's a brace
And
for a floor.
Being supported.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I like it. Yeah, I'll try to match the same tones that you use, but I think that, yeah, I can do quite a bit inside of here. And then, like I said, putting in the sorting system too, which
Yeah.
should be really interesting and should have plenty of room for it.
I didn't want to do anything on the inside because of your sorting system. I didn't know how you wanted it all laid out, so that's why it's just a big, vast, open space.
No worries. I can typically fit redstone anywhere that has enough room, but it's always a good challenge to fit it. So what do we have going on up here? This is not looking very good. It looks like Gigi's done passed out.
Yeah, well, if you can tell, she's not really into hard labor. So that one kind of looks like that one hay block kind of knocked her down.
She toppled over by the little hay block. Yeah. Well, at least she did not lose her flowers on top. So I mean, that's what counts, I suppose. But I was looking around this too, and it looks like you've completely spawn-proofed this entire thing as well. And I even noticed on the peak up here that you ended it on the half slab, which is really cool. And you can always tell an experienced builder most of the time will end it with a single block rather than a double block. You learn to count out your blocks before you start your build is what I've learned in the past.
Yep, too many years of trying to figure out what I'm going to do at the end with an even amount of numbers.
Well, this is absolutely incredible. And I'm excited to get started going around here, decorating it and adding to the land and maybe adding a few other things here and there. And of course on the inside, adding in the storage system. And who knows, maybe if I have enough room for the storage system and have a bunch of space left over, I'll put my animals in here. That way they're not left out inside of the rain.
Yeah. They'll appreciate that. And there's always...
Yeah, I'm sure.
You can always dig down for more space, too.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. I think if I do have to have a sorting system on each side, then I will just run everything underground, which should make it really nice. And I'm wondering, maybe I can, I don't know, I'll have to see what I can do with the floor. I might just make a lot of it, just dirt, coarse dirt, and make it look where it's kind of worn down. Let me jump out of spectator. And this is amazing. I really appreciate you building.
I'm glad I was able to do it for you.
Now, I don't know if this is exactly fair with just a little bit of redstone that I did over in the gaming district for you. So, do you want me to pay you some diamonds, or would you like another IOU, maybe?
Absolutely not. You've helped me with so many other things. Little and big. This is the least I could do.
What about materials?
Nope.
No, not at all. One thing that I wanted to point out on the materials is the block palette that you picked is absolutely phenomenal. And I was looking here at the mangrove wood and then the, what is that, oak, I believe it is. Well, this mud block brings both of those together so nicely. That's really a perfect palette.
I really love the new mud blocks. They're pretty cool.
Me too. Now we just have to defend it so the creepers don't blow it up. Well, anyways, any more redstone that I can do for you, let me know. And then we can consider that a debt paid in full, because this is a huge build. And maybe the redstone that we were talking about the other day with the mob head shop,
Yes.
Maybe I can do that for you and
yeah.
then call it even.
That would be fun.
Sound good?
All right. Thank you so much. I'm glad you like it.
Thank you. I'm glad that you built it, and I greatly appreciate it. And thank you for the grand tour of it.
It was my pleasure.
Now I just got to tear down the beacon and get rid of all those chests up there.
Good luck with that.
Alrighty, I'll catch up with you later.
Alrighty. Bye-bye.
Man, that barn, let me tell you, Gigi did such an amazing job on it. I'm absolutely stoked, and I cannot wait to start decorating that area and start adding in a sorting system to that place because, let's face it, I really need a place to put all of my items. That way they're not sporadically placed all across the world. Anyways, we are back over here at the clay farm, and I want to try and move some of these around and try to get some more drying racks inside of here. That way we can slash the time even further. As mentioned, this thing takes about 7.5 minutes to dry both of these racks here. So if I add 2 more, I should be able to get this down to 3 minutes and 45 seconds. But if I add even more than that, then that gives me the potential to even have this produce clay even faster. So let me do a little bit of design work off the camera, and then I'll tune back in once I have this thing functional. Well, I am back with an update, and we have a ton of clay. However, I'm not exactly happy with this thing. And it's not so much the production of the clay that I'm not happy with. I do want it to be a little bit faster because this thing, every about 3 minutes, this thing will allow me to put in another 11 pieces of mud to convert into clay. And that is pretty quick. However, I do want it faster, but that's not the main reason why I want to change this. See, another one of the problems is if you were using this thing exclusively for clay, then it probably wouldn't be that big of a deal. You have a bunch of clay here and then a bunch of clay inside of your giant cuber over there. However, I don't want to just use this exclusively for clay. As I've mentioned, I want to also use this for concrete in order to convert to concrete and then cube the concrete. And I also want to be able just to do mud. So that means if I stuck with this setup here, then I would have to remove every one of these dripstones every time that I wanted to use this thing for mud. Furthermore, even if I did that, which would be a giant hassle, I would not expect other people to do it, releasing this as a tutorial, which would not work. And third most, if you are doing concrete, concrete tends to be pretty valuable, and you don't want to use a large amount of concrete to be tied up inside of your machine every time that you just harvest a cube. So for the past 20 hours or so, I have been scratching my noggin inside of a redstone testing world, trying to suss out a new design, and I've just about got one put together. I'm about to begin tearing all of this out. I know I just built it, and I don't want to bore you with a time lapse of me tearing it all down because I just showed you a time lapse of me building the entire machine. However, I do want the new upgraded version of this farm that I designed. So with that being said, I think in order to save you guys some time, that way you don't have to see this, we're just going to do a little bit of time traveling, jump into the future, and I'll meet up with you guys whenever it's done. Alright, so if I remember right, to time travel, I have to put this here, button on top, and meh. What? Wait a minute, what happened? What's going on? Did I pass out from jumping forward in time, or did I pass out from building this? Anyways, I'm not quite sure what happened, but it looks like it's here. Are you from the future? Do you have new futuristic items? Nope, you still have the same old junk that you always do. Well, I'm not quite sure how this thing got here, but this is definitely the farm that I designed inside of my farm testing world, so I guess I'll show you how it works. I got some temporary steps going up there, and then we have the control board here, and it's fairly simple to use. We have input items and output items. This is asking if we are putting dirt inside, or if we're turning the machine off, or if we are putting any other block that's different than dirt. So we can select that depending on the output that we want. And on the output side, we can either go for an output of mud or concrete, or we can go for an output of clay. Inside of the dirt/off position, the machine is totally off unless you feed dirt inside of it. And for this instance, we are just going to feed some dirt into it and make some mud. So we can come up here and we can start putting mud in, and as soon as we do, it's going to start converting it. And it's going to continue to push the mud through, and if you look through the glass to the top right of the screen, you'll be able to see the mud working its way across, and then as soon as it gets to the very end, it's going to be pushed up and continue making a giant cube of mud. From this angle here, you will be able to see me feeding the mud machine and the mud working its way all the way across, and instead of going up, it's going to go towards the right hand side once it meets the switching valve. Once the mud meets the switching valve is going to continue pushing it in and through the switching valve and redirecting it towards the cuber on the bottom side. On the output side of the switching valve, it's going to push it in front of the cuber and then down and around underneath the cube, and then once it fills up the entire underside of the cube, then it's going to push it up by one. It's going to continue to pile mud into the cuber and make a giant sheet of mud working its way upwards. Once it goes up all the way to the very top, it's going to hit a block to activate some redstone, and once that happens, it's going to push the entire sheet of mud forwards by one to make room for the new sheet that's going to accumulate behind it. The exact same process is going to apply for concrete as well, so you're going to leave that selector on concrete, and then on this one you are going to be feeding it with concrete powder, so that would be any other block, so that switch would be switched down. Now, I don't currently have any concrete powder to show you this actively taking place, however it's going to push it through the system the exact same way and cube it nonetheless. The conversion area is right over here where you see that block of water. That is where all of the concrete powder is going to instantly turn into concrete, and then it's just going to push it as solid blocks all the way through until it reaches the cuber. And then we can make clay, and we can throw that lever on clay in order to do that. And then we will start off by throwing some dirt inside of here. So we can come up here and feed this thing with dirt. And in order for the conversion to take place, this has to drastically be slowed down. So each block that I input into the system is going to stay stationary for approximately 13 seconds before it is converted into mud and then pushed forwards in order to move through the conveyor. The reason for that is mud has to be over dripstone anywhere from 0 to a maximum of 15 minutes in order to convert the mud into the clay. And if we have a total of 73 drying blocks, then we can do quick math and figure out that 15 minutes would roughly be approximately 13 seconds before moving everything forward. And in layman's terms, that means that by the time all of the mud reaches the very end of the drying rack here, that every single piece will have been on the drying rack for at least 15 minutes, giving us a complete output of only clay. And if you wanted to mix the ratio to the clay to mud output, all you have to do is adjust the items inside the etho hopper timer, and then that will allow you to adjust how much clay to mud you get. Well, that's great if you want to convert your dirt into the mud or the clay. However, what happens if you have a bunch of mud and you just want to put the mud directly into the machine without doing that? Well, if you place that in here, you can see whenever that moves forward that it's going to try to convert that block of mud into a block of mud. And since it's already converted, it's just going to waste that water bottle, and that water bottle is not going to find its way back into the machine. So if you're wanting to insert any other block, i.e. mud, then you're going to have to switch that down, and then it's going to pop out one last water bottle. You can throw this back into the machine here. And then whenever you add this for a second time, it's no longer going to dispense any water bottles into the mud. Now the switching valves is what makes this all possible, and this is going to consist of two of them, one on each end, because we need to output the items to a different area, and then we're going to need a second one so we can take those same outputted items and then bring them back into a stream to be cubed again inside of the same cuber. And if you look at those switching valves, you can see exactly how they work. Whenever I power or unpower this line, it's going to distinguish which one of these pistons get powered. And on the second switching valve that redirects all of the stuff back into the cuber, the story is pretty much the same here, however the way that it functions is a little bit more complex. However, you can see we're just moving this piston back and forth, and this is going to decide whether we are placing the clay inside of the cuber or if we are placing in the mud inside of the cuber. And from this angle you can see all of the clay working its way around the conveyor throughout all of the drying racks, and then ultimately being pushed into that switching valve and then finding its way into the cuber. Pretty cool, huh? It took quite a bit of time to design, but ultimately I'm a lot more happy with this design than I was with the other one. Unfortunately, with how large it is, that's just kind of the nature of making a clay machine, as it's kind of a process that takes up a lot of room. I'm going to further refine this design and do testing on the Project Bedrock server with this machine, and then I'm ultimately going to try to release this as a tutorial in the future. Alright, that's enough clay for a few episodes. Let's go ahead and move over to the shopping district and find out exactly where we're going to be building this new shop at. Don't worry, Mr. Warden, I have not forgotten about you. Your time to shine is coming up, I promise. But for now, I want to turn my attention to my next build here, which is going to be another shop. And this shop is going to be built for these allays that I acquired last episode. And if you're wondering why they're not all tied up, well, there seems to be a bug with the leads and the allays, so I had to pack them all underneath the floor, and they all seem to kind of work their way inside of the little cubby right here, which I think they think that they can probably pathfind through that piston, which is definitely not the case. And last episode I said that I was going to be placing the shop here, however I'm kind of having second thoughts because I don't want it directly next to this shop, and I don't want it to kind of be squared out side by side either. Like I mentioned before, we want this entire shopping district pretty much organic. And I'm thinking this location over here next to DSP's new potion shop and also the gold farm would work out very nicely. So let's jump into a time lapse, do a little bit of terraforming, and then we'll get started building it. Let's go! And we are done. We have the Allay sanctuary just about finished. I just have to add a bunch of finishing touches to it. However, I did not really plan for it to be this large and this entailed. However, I started building it and then I kind of had multiple moments to where I'm like, I could do this or I could do this. So thus I added a bunch of stuff and now I have a whole lore story that goes along with it. I'll show you around really quickly and then I will get into the lore behind all of this. So it's still up in the air whether or not I'm going to be changing out the smooth stone. I think that I could probably find a better block for it than what I have there. However, I ended up changing all of this and making some really unique trees, and I think that they came out very, very well for somebody that doesn't have a lot of experience making trees. And after all of this is done, I'm really glad that I chose this location instead of building it over there where I originally was going to, because that would not have given me nearly enough room to build something like this. In the center, we have a really unique looking fountain that's made entirely of quartz, and it has a few frog lights below it just to keep everything lit up. And then over here we have an area where the pavement collapsed. You might have noticed on the time lapse that I actually had stairs going here. However, the stairs didn't really fit the lore story that I wanted to go with, so I ended up adding this in. The barriers, I'm kind of up in the air whether or not I want these here or not. I think it's kind of an eyesore, but then again it also kind of acts as a protection to keep people from falling in. As you can see, somebody has already accessed this area down here and has knocked over one of the barricades, unfortunately. However, if we go down here, this dirt will not be here and this door will not be here. This is strictly to keep the allays in right now. So let's go inside of here, and we have all of our allays inside. We have a bunch of dirt, a bunch of quartz, and some of the stone as well. That was from the entire side of this collapsing into here. And then we have the underbody here, which is going to be where you will purchase allays. Now, if we go over here to the side, this area here, we have to where it's basically a giant piston feed tape that will rotate around and bring allays down through here. However, the problem that I ran into with the solid blocks is as soon as it moves to piston feed tapes, the allays tend to suffocate inside of them and die. So I was changing some of them out for glass. However, it's just not working the way that I want it to, so I'm going to continue experimenting with this idea off of camera and see if I can't come up with a better solution for this. Now for the lore that goes behind this build, we have had this fountain here for some time inside of this village. However, it has recently had a collapse inside of it, and whenever it collapsed, it allowed people to find what was beneath the fountain all of these years. When people came below the fountain, they found something that was very mysterious and something that they just could not explain. They don't know if it's from a different planet, or if it's from the future, or the past. All they know is that it's something that they've never seen before. Down underneath the fountain, they hear a sound that they have never heard before. Could it be a new creature? Once the collapse occurred and sunlight hit this area for the first time in a very long time, something was let loose. Something was let out of here. Could it be this mysterious substance that was slowly taking over all of the trees and the vegetation surrounding, leaving all of the trees dried and dead? Or maybe they're just alive in their own way. Either way, it's beautiful nonetheless. Whatever this stuff is, it just goes to show that we just barely scratched the surface as to what we know. Excuse me, sir. Sir, you're not supposed to be out here. You're supposed to be an ancient creature down under the fountain. No, not here, down under. You're not supposed to be out here. Well guys, as I mentioned, I'm going to continue to chisel away with this build off of camera and just do a little bit of details, making it better and better. I am really excited for this and I absolutely love how this turned out. Let me know what you think inside of the comments below. With that being said, we are out of video time for today, so I'm going to wrap up the episode here. However, stick around until the end because there's going to be a outro time lapse for something that I've been wanting to do for a while now. However, I just have not had the time to do it, and it's really important for me to add it onto the server. So with that being said, if you guys liked the video, please drop a like below. It really does help out the channel. If you are yet to subscribe, then make sure that you are subscribed before you go, along with hitting that bell notification. That way you don't miss any of the upcoming uploads. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you.